So guys, at last we can start this course, and when you open for the first time Blender, when you install it and open it, you will see this. In fact, you will see a little window before this one. You have to just not change anything, just click save or continue or whatever, and then you will see this. And here we don't click anything in those. Those are my recent files, those are general 3D animation, we don't care. We just click out of this little window here and we go into Blender, and now we are into Blender, and with this we finish our course. No, we continue a little bit more. I need to explain a few things here and there. So first, what we see here, this big area, what is this? Wow, this is our viewport. We will work there, we will model here, we will sculpt here, we will even texture here a little bit, and basically we will do all our work in this basic area here. These are our tools, and those tools change depending on in which layout you are. I mean, if you are in first, which is the layout, which is the basic, you will see these tools. If you go to modeling, you will see these tools, which is the edit mode. If you go to sculpting, you will see more tools, a lot of brushes, but don't be scared. We'll use just small amount of them, but they are enough for us to kind of do our job. So let's go to layout. This is the basic thing. So here in this right area, in the top right, what we have here, this is the browser. We see here our camera, which is this object in the scene. We see our cube, which is this object. We see our light, and we can click on them to select them from here. Of course, it's more convenient to just left click on them with our mouse and select them. So this is the camera, and the camera looks like this. This is camera. This is our cube. Let me just fast put my keys so you can see them on screen in here. Okay, so now N key, this is your first shortcut, by the way. This is not the most important shortcut, but with N key you get this menu here. You will not have the quadro mesh, you will not have the screencast keys. The screencast keys are for me, for you to see what keys I'm pressing if I don't say them correctly or you don't understand my English, which is absolutely normal. And the quadro mesh, you will see what it is for. It's not mandatory to have this plugin or add-on in Blender, but it's amazing. It's just completely amazing, and I will show you what it does later in our course. So this is the light. This is how the light looks like. You see, it's amazing how the light looks like in Blender. Okay, here in the bottom part, so I told you this is the browser. You will see all your objects here. You can add them to a collection, and which is like folder, and you can basically store them there, and you can name them, and you can do whatever. So this, for example, is our cube, and how is it called? It's called cube, but we can press F2 to rename it, or double click here. We can rename it from here, cube 2, for example, or 3, or just click on it and F2 to rename it something like this. And now it's cube 321. I don't know why, but whatever. So this here in the bottom are a lot of tabs, which we will see some of them are not that important. This is very important with the range. These are the modifiers, and you can add some modifiers here. For example, I will show you the most used, one of the most used modifiers, which is subdivision surface. When you put it and when you increase the sides, and our cube is no more cube, it's more like a sphere. It's not exact sphere though. If you notice, it's a little bit like cubical sphere, a little bit, but it's mostly sphere. So if you don't want this, of course, you can first apply it from this little kind of arrow here. It's not very convenient, but and you can also delete it by this X. And we have our cube again. By the way, we will delete this cube at some point. We don't need it, but whatever. So those are the things. When you select, for example, a light, you see the options of the light here in the bottom. This light bulb, basically. And you can change the light to point, to sun, and the other way around. We will go through this later. If you go to your camera, you will see the options of the camera here on this little camera icon. So basically you will have this, but when you are on light or on camera, you will not have the range icon, but you will have this for the modifiers. You will have this wrench icon every time you go to a normal object like this. So yeah. So now, the most important thing that you have to learn first in Blender is how to navigate the viewport. It's very important, it's amazingly important, it's just you cannot do without it. So first, we will use the middle mouse button, which is the scroll wheel. See this one here. We will press it, and by pressing it, we will rotate our viewport. Amazing. You see? Pressing it rotates our viewport. Now we can rotate, very nice. Next thing we have to learn is how to move our camera around. This is not camera, this is our view, basically, we are moving it. So we will move our view by Shift middle mouse button. Wow. These are the things you have to learn always first in a 3D application, of course. And the last one is how to zoom in and out. You just scroll. You can just scroll. This is the one way you can do that. The other way is to control middle mouse button and up and down. You move the mouse up and down and you zoom in and out. So those things you have to practice in order to get used to them, because with this you will be able to, if you are very comfortable with this, you will be very good in Blender. Yeah, but this will take time. I mean, this will take hours. For example, for me, even I'm pretty good with 3D applications. I know 3D Max, I know Maya. No, I don't know Maya. I know 3D Max, I know ZBrush. And I have worked long hours, like thousands of hours on both. So when I came to Blender, it took me around 5 to 10 hours to kind of get used to rotating, moving. And now I'm pretty comfortable, but I don't use those particular keys. Those are the default keys. And I use my tablet most of the time because I am, yeah, this is the stylus of my tablet. This is 1 by Wacom tablet, the cheapest Wacom tablet. And I use it for my work and for everything I do. It's here. And I recommend you to get one because without it, you will not be able to sculpt in Blender. And in this course, we will mostly sculpt. I mean, I'm mostly sculptor, digital sculptor. This is my job. I'm a character artist, and digital sculptor is the best part of the character art. So we will use the tablet, but how to use the tablet with those settings, since the tablet doesn't have a middle mouse? So one option is to make one of your buttons of your tablet a middle mouse button in the Wacom options or the options of your tablet, which I don't use because I don't use the buttons. They are not convenient for me. I use only clicking with the tablet. So just tapping with the tablet and drawing. This is what I use. And how we can navigate Blender with this. Let me show you. We go to Edit, we go to Preferences, and we go to Navigation first. And we click this option because this is by default, I think it's off. Orbit around selection, very important. This is not about the navigation, this is just when you select something to orbit around it. When you select different thing to orbit around that, because otherwise you will orbit around I don't know what. So this is very important to have. Just trust me. And then the other one will be input emulate 3-button mouse. That's what will allow us to use our tablet. So let me show you. Emulate 3D mouse. Click it, and this is it for now. We will go to these preferences a little bit later, but for now we will close it. And now, if you use your tablet, click, and nothing will happen. You will not be able to navigate, but Alt click. You see what happens? Middle mouse button. Alt click will be emulating a middle mouse button. Alt Shift click will emulate panning. Alt Control click will emulate zoom in or out. So this is amazing. This is good. So of course, some people will not like to work with like Shift Alt, Control Alt, and Alt at the same time all the time. But for me, it's not a problem. It's good. I like this way of navigating, and I got used to it. And now it's not a problem. My thumb is always on the Alt. And with the other fingers, I go Shift, Control, and the other options around it. So ZBrush, not ZBrush, Blender is all about shortcuts. So we will go through the ways you can access the options without shortcuts. But after that, I will show you only how to do it with shortcuts, because basically shortcuts are the best. So now, you see, I am Alt dragging with the tablet, I'm Shift Alt dragging and Control Alt dragging. So basically it's the same. Control Shift you're using for zooming in and out and panning, but with this time with Alt, because you're using this. So the same, you can use your mouse, your left mouse button with Alt and Control and Shift, and you will see what happens, basically. So next thing I will teach you is also the second most important thing, is how to create an object. So for example, now we have our cube, but we want to create a torus. Why not? So this will be add. When you go to add menu here in the top, and then you add mesh. From this menu you can add a curve, you can add surface. I never used this option, by the way, I don't know. Metable, I never used this option too. Text, I also never use this option. So basically we don't need this that much in our workflow. I use armature sometimes, light and camera, and of course meshes. I mostly use UV sphere. This is my chosen object that I use, and it will always appear when we put, let's put a torus. It will always appear here where this 3D cursor is. This is called 3D cursor, by the way. This kind of little thing here in the middle is 3D cursor. That's why it's called. I don't know. But it kind of shows where our object will appear when we put it on our viewport. Now we have this torus. And what we can do, we can resize it. We can put it somewhere. We can scale it. We can do some things with it. But, you know, I will show how it will appear here. So the cube is here. The torus is here. It's okay. So if you move now this object, for example, if I want to move it, I can click on this and move it. Okay, good. On one of the axes. And this here is our move. Yeah. This here is our transform, by the way. I always use this because it allows me to move, rotate, and scale from just one kind of a tool, a gizmo. Yes, I will Control Z to put it back here. Because if you move it like this, for example, it could be a problematic thing. If you move it just from here, I suggest you always, before you move, you go to Edit mode. The modes are changed from here: Object, Edit, Sculpt, Vertex Paint, Weight Paint, Texture Paint. Those are your modes available. So now, to go to Edit mode is very easy. You press Tab. And you are in Edit mode and your object is all selected. So now from Edit mode, we don't see very well our object. If you want to see your object, only your object, it's very important. You press the question mark key, which is just around your Enter and Shift key. So press it and you go like this. Press it again and you see, if you want to isolate your object, you have a lot of objects in your scene and you just want this belt, for example, to work on it. You just press this key and you go work on your object, rotate, move around, scale it, move it around, and then when you're ready, you just press the tilde. I'm not sure how it's called. It's a question mark, and it's just like this thing near the shift. This key is for this. So basically now probably you are starting to realize a little bit that with Blender you cannot work just with your tablet or your mouse. You have to use your imagination. No, of course, but your other hand, you have to use it. You have to use your left hand and your right hand. So with the right hand, I'm a right hand guy, so I use it with the tablet or the mouse. When I'm sculpting in the sculpting mode with my brushes here, I'm sculpting, I'm using, of course, the tablet. When I go to the layout mode, the normal mode, and I'm starting to do some things on the object in edit mode, then I'm using the mouse most of the time, because there are some things we have to do with the right mouse click and stuff like this, so I like to use the mouse then. You see, Control Alt, Alt, Shift Alt I'm using, but always Alt is pressed. So now if we are with this mode, if we need to go to sculpting mode, we have to go here and press sculpting in the top, or go to layout, or go to sculpting, or go to layout. But there's another way, which I use. Of course, I didn't start using it right away when I went to Blender and I started using this shortcut, because it's, I don't know, it's overwhelming how many shortcuts are in Blender, of course. So I will suggest you to first change probably from this, but at some point, when you get kind of used to this, you will see that it's more easier to press Control Tab and then move your mouse in one of those directions, object mode or sculpt mode or edit mode. But edit mode is very easy accessible by pressing just tab, so it's easier to just press tab and to go in and out of edit mode. But in object mode and sculpt mode, you go like this. Object mode, we are already there, so we go to sculpt mode, I like this. So Control Tab and then object mode, Control Tab, sculpt mode. You have to kind of get used to it. Control Tab, sculpt mode, Control Tab, object mode, Control Tab, edit mode. And if I Control Tab and very quickly move my mouse, for example, down, I will go to sculpt mode. Control mouse down, Control Tab left, Control Tab down, Control Tab left. So it's very kind of convenient. I know that Control Tab left will take me to this, but it will not come from the start. I mean, I will not require you to do that absolutely from the start. So you just keep that in your somewhere, and when you start working, it will come. You will start using it just slowly, and at some point you will start using it very quickly, and you will see how convenient is this, because switching between modes is very, very frequent in Blender. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. I always switch between sculpting mode, between object mode, between edit mode. It's just you have to kind of get used to it, because you cannot create, basically in the regular Blender, you cannot create anything inside sculpt mode. Not anything, but you cannot add a new object, for example, a new sphere I want to add here. I have to Control Tab, go to object mode, or here from layout, sculpting, I'm sculpting, then I have to go to layout. I have to Control Shift A. Shift A is, by the way, the shortcut to add, and I was about to tell you that. So you can add object, of course, from here, from the menu, add mesh, and then UV sphere. Yes, I'm adding it. Now the UV sphere is here. I can press my question mark, and it will be here, and it will center to it. Question mark again, and we are out. So, by the way, I want to erase those two objects. I can select them like this, both of them, without the sphere. The sphere is not selected. You see here that only the cube and the torus are selected, and I can press X. You can press delete, of course, but the delete is too much away from my left hand, so I will press X. And X will give me this menu that has only one option, delete. And they are deleted. Of course, I can Control Z and bring them back. Control Shift Z and delete them again. So Control Z is undo, Control Shift Z is redo, like most programs. So now you have camera, light, and a sphere. So in this sphere, I will start in the next video to make a human head. Just to show you a few things, just to show you how we go from object mode to sculpt mode and the other way around. Those modes shouldn't scare you. They're a little bit different than other 3D programs, but they are not that different, and they are not scary. If you are absolutely new to any 3D program, in the beginning, of course, it will be difficult. It's always difficult in the beginning, so you have to be patient, you have to take your time, you have to give yourself the hours. And with each hour you spent in the program, with each exercise you made, that I will show you, then, of course, with each stage of our character, you will get better and better in Blender. And at the end, hopefully, you will be kind of more confident in yourself, and you can start doing even your own kind of simple characters. I advise you to start simple. It's very important because otherwise, since Blender is free software, you can get frustrated and just throw it away. And Blender, believe me, I'm a 3D artist for a long time. I'm a 3D artist since 2010. I've been working with 3D programs even from 2004 with 3D Max, then ZBrush, and I'm working in the industry, and Blender is a capable program. I'm using it now to do my characters for work in Blender, only in Blender. So don't think that Blender is some kind of a free software that can do anything. It's very convenient, it's very fast if you spend enough time to learn it. So yeah, hopefully that will give you some idea in the beginning, and let's, in the other video, let me demonstrate a little bit how I sculpt in Blender.